National attention was drawn to just how powerless the residents of Washington, D.C. are when the city's mayor was unable to mobilize the National Guard during the Capitol Hill riot in January, and subsequently when they had no say as sections of their city were fenced off. The polls now show unprecedented nationwide support for D.C. statehood, and activists feel this is their moment.
The fight for statehood is much bigger than the fencing and the National Guard you see, but it is really about 700,000 plus American citizens who pay full taxes to this democracy, who represented it in the military that we see, but don't get representation.
The US Constitution decreed that the US's capital was to be hosted not in a state, but in a federal district that would be controlled by Congress and have no voting representation. But today, Washington, D.C. has a larger population than the states of Wyoming or Vermont, and pays more in federal taxes than 22 states. Nonetheless, Republicans still argue that D.C. citizens aren't worthy of representation.
Wyoming is a well-rounded, working-class state. A new state of Washington would not be.
RAHAMA Wright owns a small business in D.C. For her, it's pretty clear what Cotton is saying. Wyoming is 93% white. If Washington became a state, it would be the only state in the nation with a plurality of black residents.
I'm a real person. The people that I know in D.C. are real people. We are not only real people, but we are a very diverse city. We're one of the most diverse cities in the entire country. I think that there is a very real effort to squelch the voices of people of color.
Last year, the House of Representatives overwhelmingly voted to make D.C. a state for the first time. A similar bill has now been introduced in the Senate, where the Democrats have a majority. But with a Republican Party fearful of the creation of a state from a heavily Democratic city, it's not expected that the Senate bill will reach the 60 votes needed to overcome a filibuster, a parliamentary tactic the minority party can use to prevent a vote. There is a way forward, though.
If you can bypass the filibuster to affirm 3 Supreme Court justices, then you should be able to do the same for American citizens, for democracy. And that's what 51 for 51 is all about, is making D.C. the 51st state with bypassing the filibuster and passing D.C. statehood with simple majority.
And in fact, activists from 51 for 51 managed to get Joe Biden to support waiving the filibuster for a vote on D.C. statehood while he was on the campaign trail.
Do you support D.C. becoming the 51st state with 51 votes?
Absolutely, I have for the last 28 years.
51 votes in the Senate?
Yes.
Now that he's become president, Joe Biden's position on bypassing the filibuster for D.C. statehood has become a little less clear. But progressives think that Biden has already proven he can be pushed to the left, especially when it's pointed out that when Republicans held all 3 branches of government, they pursued their agenda ruthlessly. It's all a matter of will. Shihab, Rattansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.